millennial? Actually, I'm a Ravenclaw.
Get some later. Who knows?
Ew.
If you don't cook me into an omelet. So the next chapter is the Vor Machine, and I think this is the most capitalist touching passage, right? On the fate of humanity as it relates to its relationship to the singularity. Oh
yeah. Interestingly, I had the least to say on capitalism about this. So you go ahead, because I actually engaged with it differently.
Cute accelerationist theory, colligated by the Marketable Archive, with Smugbug, international consultant, political author, and CEO.
Because I was uninterested in its like raw reproduction of basic accelerationist bullshit.
I think that this chapter is actually one of the most substantial, just because it sort of goes over the basic semiotics of consumption, right? They say it is impossible to consume without producing yourself as an object for consumption. Socially, in a sense.
Yeah, that's the part that made me mad. Yep.
But it's true. It made you mad because it's true.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I refer to it as the, so this is the, so they mention, okay. They mention, as well as scrambling the coordinates of penetrative bellicosity and soft submission, cute ultimately implies the melting of any polarity or distinction, and I am a distinction enjoyer, so fuck this, between having and being, possessive libido and self-objectification. Once a cute GF is the cute GF. It becomes impossible to consume without producing yourself as an object for consumption in turn. Yeah, and I actually disagree. I think that, first of all, I don't like consumption. I don't like it. I think that, like, consumption is not something that you pass through. It's something that passes through you. And while there's, like, value to that, I think that the problem is that you are taking what is essentially, like, dead matter and putting it through you and then leaving it behind as dead matter. Like, I want to be changed by things that I pass through. I don't necessarily want to change consumptive objects that pass through me. Would you say that consuming increases your hunger for more consumption? Yeah, and I say this as someone who's currently starving themselves to reset my appetite because I gained 2 kilos, which means I'm gonna die. So I actually am
That's
down 1
so
kilo.
baby doll of you.
It is, unfortunately, yeah. But yeah, this is, I literally am like, I'm just like, I was, you know, I was like, I ordered fast food twice in 1 week, and that was a terrible mistake. And now I have an appetite for it. I have an appetite for chippies. There is no amount of chippy that you can eat that doesn't make you want more chippy. So I have to starve myself to reset my fucking gut biome so I don't have cravings anymore. And guess what? I don't have cravings anymore. It took 3 days of discipline. Now I feel great. I'm not hungry all the time anymore. It's perfect. So like, my point is just that I don't like the fetishization of consumption. Like, I think the negative experience, hunger is a good experience. Again, if you're not coerced into it, if you're not forced into it, you should feel negative experiences. You should embrace negative experiences as contrast to the positive ones. If you just sit at a fucking table and eat a burger and in 19 seconds it disappears because you weren't thinking about it, you fucked up. You lose, you died, you fucked it, it's over. You lost the experience of that because you didn't fucking experience it, because you just consumed. You gooned and you consumed. You had no fucking enjoyment of the fucking thing. Now, it should be a progressive thing, nor should you fetishize every bite and nibble at it and lick at it and suck at it until it's a horrible little burger stub. Okay, like, you need to find this, like, middle ground of, like, progressive consumption that gives you, you know, access to experience without fucking fixating on it.
So, Smug, the problem that I see here is that I think you are setting yourself up in relation to the book as an anti-trans person. I mean, I feel like the pond has known that you're anti-trans for a while.
Yes,
it's not immediately relevant to this chapter. But there's a note that's very, I think, relevant.
Okay. Do you want to go through the note? I may have missed the note on this.
Yeah. So they say on 104, or note 104, if you want to see cute accelerationism, actual cyberpunk, look at 21st century trans communities. From snapping selfies to distributing memes to inventing new genders to sharing lewds to relay egg-cracking initiations to black market hormones to the crowdsourcing of experimental self-medication data to GoFundMe surgeries, all in the service of moving the target of just rightness, aka euphoria, aka cuteness, on the third circuit of acutification. We'll get to the circuits of this book later.
Yeah.
Every body that enters the pipeline becomes the lube for the pipeline.
True. Yeah, and I hate this. I think all the worst aspects of trans culture are the ones that are hyperfixated on hyperconsumption. I think that
And appearance.
I think that one of the reasons. Yes, well, I'm okay with appearance. We can come to appearance,
But not cute
later.
appearance.
Yes, correct. So my issue. Okay. So there's a critique with Zizek that's been buried by Zizek that's been buried in the back of my fucking head forever. And yes, he is transphobic, but it takes a transphobic man to level a correct transphobic to level a correct anti-trans take. Unfortunately, yeah, exactly. And it is true that capitalism is extremely amenable to transness, right? The idea that your identity is essentially a grey blob and can only be defined by access to surgeries and clothing and consumptive practices. The ideal, if we imagine the ideal capitalist state, right, the most consumptive state, would be you changing your gender every fucking couple of years as if it's a fashion. And some gender abolitionists kind of, pay service to this idea. Besides the cis person fucking damn right. Okay, the cis people are telling trans people how to be. Okay. If you model your entire sense of transness on hyperconsumption, then capitalism is very, very amenable to providing you all of the infinite pieces of consumption of consumer good that you need in order to affect the change, in order to become the thing you want to be. And they're right; it is a moving target. This follows straight in line with my continuing critique.
Yeah, femininity is a moving target.
What, right, but they're literally, which is a bad thing. I don't like the fact that femininity is a target that is moving and therefore almost impossible to achieve. Like it is a infinite demand production system that only benefits capital at the expense of trans people fucking killing themselves. Like, the coercive function of not meeting those standards is so bad, it fucking kills people. And then you've got trans people who are fucking girly pop doling around, being hyper-consumptive, as if they're not reinforcing the very measures that made them suicidal when they were fucking teenagers.
I remember having a conversation
really
in undergraduate with a trans friend of mine. We were talking politics, and I asked them, in your ideal socialist society where medicine is socialized, do you think that the people that transition surgeries should be socialized as well? And broadly, like, should aesthetic surgeries be socialized?
Yeah, absolutely. If there's not a coercive capitalist impulse to maximize the so yeah, basically without a profit motive, these things work much better, much more effectively.
Interestingly enough, they said no, it shouldn't be socialized.
Oh, why?
Right. Ideally, in this sort of society, the prejudice of putting on social signifiers that don't match your sex or the shape that God has given you as a body is a very sort of egregious act for a lot of people, and that causes people to feel suicidal, right? It makes them to experience gender dysphoria, right? That's sort of the source of that. If we remove that, and then you still want to modify your appearance, should that be not commodified? Should that be reliant on the labor of other people, on the money of other people?
Well, the money of other people is like again, like we're truly. I think the only systems of thought we're engaging with here are not like precursor to utopian systems, right? We're either talking about the current pragmatic today situation or like near future possibilities versus a utopian no coercion state, which is helpful as like a hypothesizing system to understand our value set, but is not useful in terms of. So my point is that, like, in a state where we've socialized aesthetic changes. Yeah, essentially, this is like utopian transhumanism, right? The idea that you can just decide to be whatever you want to be with minimal consequence.
You can modify your assemblage as freely as you desire.
Yeah, I think that's fine. I am happy with my assemblage, but that is also a product of you know, a million little, you know, its own coercive properties. Like, I lucked out in that I don't feel, you know, I'm affirmed just in my own sense of self.
Yeah, would you
So
say that you
I
have
don't think...
automisophilia?
What's automisophilia?
I mean, you literally just did a stream on autogynephilia.
Oh, is that the masculine form?
I assume so.
Honestly, maybe a little bit. Yeah, not crazy. I'm not like American Psycho level, but yeah, like I like how I look. Like, I feel, I honestly, you know, I probably feel a sense of like gender euphoria at how I look. Like, you know, I think I like, yeah, I like how I look. I feel very, very comfortable in my state of being.
Would you show off the chin for chat, please, really quick?
Yeah, I mean, like, what,
Oh,
what
yeah.
do you want from me? Like, what?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah? Yeah, you like that?
Wow. Isn't that something?
Yeah. You know, so... Yeah, so, as I was saying, I'm very happy in my skin, very happy in my body. I find it very hard to understand why people go to such lengths to self-modify, given that, you know, I personally...
Yeah, it's
I'm
crazy.
just happy to live in my skin, you know? I'm just, I'm all natural. Oh, fuck, it fell off! It fell off! It fell off! Shit! Fuck! Fuck! Oh, God! Oh, no! Oh, fuck! Oh, it rolled under the... Oh, it's so dusty.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
So... Have you ever swept?
No, that was
so
Wiz's job.
dusty. No! Oh, my chin.
Wiz was supposed
I'll
to
pick it
clean
up after shooting.
last Tuesday, and he really didn't get around to it.
Makes sense. Motherfucker.
Yeah, I would help you,
Oh, it's
like,
gonna be
try
so
and
gross.
find your chin, but honestly, I kind of don't care. You know, fate happens. I feel like that's sort of just gonna be its final resting place.
That goes around my mouth. I can't put that back on. I'm going to wash it in the sink. It's a whole thing. Ugh.
Ooh.
Don't make me
dentures
drop a
too?
picture of you in the skin suit, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there is an anti-trans element in that, like, transness has been allowed and facilitated and reinforced by capital, but of course the form of transness that was reinforced is hyper-consumer, hyper-capitalist transness. I appreciate
Rainbow
that
capitalism.
transness is yeah, basically. I mean, like, I appreciate that transness is in some ways, you know, inherently revolutionary to gender, but capitalism is fairly compatible with feminism. You can imagine, like, an end state of, like, near female liberation, where we just subdivide all of the invisible labor into invisible labor equally between men and women, and capitalism would still function just fucking fine. You know, there's a lot of... that will never happen for reasons of capital, but you could imagine a hypothetical scenario where it's possible for that state of affairs to exist. So my point is that, yeah, that transness is unfortunately mediated heavily by capital for the vast majority of trans people. Okay, I know there's a bunch of fucking revolutionaries out there, but the biggest struggles those revolutionaries have, they would probably agree, are mediated by the capital interaction with transness.
So how would you wrap this? How would you wrap these ideas all up for a very brain-rotted conservative?
Oh my fucking god. I don't know if I would even bother. I mean, like, my goal is just to fucking get them on the path to less destructive outcomes. I don't think you can... I think you have to create... In the same way that you teach a 12-year-old, like, the basics of gravity and physics without going too deep immediately, I think you have to start layer by layer.
Throwing
so you have to
a rock
build
at their head?
Yeah, yeah. You have to... That feels like a very bougie look at trans identity. No
Look at the
fucking
room
shit.
around
Yeah,
us. Do you know how much these chairs cost me?
And yet you still don't dust.
No, that's Wiz's job. I pay him good money to dust this furniture.
Yeah, I pay him good fucking money. He does nothing as well. Welcome to my goddamn world.
Insane.
Yeah. I don't think that's a bougie look at trans identity. I think that is the mainstream. That's the mainstream of trans identity, especially culturally. But also, I think if we were to put every trans person in one room, I think they would average out to being hyper-consumer, hyper-capitalists for a lot of reasons. Obviously that's mediated by their, like, gender. I think a lot of the things that make trans people inherently revolutionary are basically feminist in nature, right? Like they are similar points of revolutionariness to the sort of gender constructs that have oppressed women as well. The mainstream media perception of trans identity super bougie. Yes, and what do you think happens when trans people look for guidance and ideas about how they should perform transness? They look at the mainstream media perception, and then they perform super bougie transness. Hence that being the average.
Or they perform what they believe is the axiom of their preferred gender.
Most trans people don't fucking read theory, okay? Most trans people are retarded because most people are stupid.
You're saying they're a little superficial, and yet they're also revolutionary at the same time?
There's a revolutionary potential in them, but obviously but the reason that we haven't moved on is because our system and many systems, you know, it's constructed from, are very good at creating insurpassable hurdles, you know? Like, if I have a moralist structure that competes with capitalism, the first thing capitalism should do, if it was a fucking sentient, you know, god nightmare, an eldro-futuric entity, would be to create a barrier that that my moralism cannot encounter without being destroyed, right? Like, if I was literally like, if you said I never want children to ever be killed again, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to use child soldiers to stop your movement, you lose, and then the children die anyway in my nightmare capitalism, right? You have to kill some kids to save the kids. Otherwise, people are just going to put the moral line you're unwilling to cross in front of you in order to maintain their power structure.
So as soon as, like, a trans
opinion.
person gets a job, they stop being trans?
No, obviously
or rather,
not.
they can become more trans because they can consume all the commodities that they need to identify with their preferred gender presentation.
My point is just that they are being coerced via gender dysphoria, which is not purely a biological phenomenon, but also a social phenomenon, because the gender language with which we express ourselves is itself a social construct. It's
other people to
language
consume,
on top of a... I agreed, right? But so I think it's okay to, like, create. This is where we come back to the appearance question. I am very pro appearance. I think that the way that you dress and the way that you indicate yourself and the way that you interface with people and communicate with people, it should be a system that you engage with and care about, because it is connective. You are literally you are the canvas on which you perform something, so that other people get a sense of either what you are or what you want to project. And ideally, what you project is some representation of what you are, even if it's a simplified one.
Smug, would you do me a favor and vamp and argue with chat for a moment?
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
Well, I mean,